Light. Dread it. Run from it. Destiny arrives all the same. And now it's here. Or should I say, Mars Hydro is.
Hello and welcome back to another Grow Light review. I'm sitting here today with the Mars Hydro TSW 2000, and in my opinion, I think this is the holy grail of the new Mars Hydro quantum board grow lights. We're going to talk about why that is coming up. So right off the top, why do I like this light? Because it's not too big, it's not too small, it's not too expensive, and it's perfect for your typical 3x3 or a 4x4 grow tent. In the box, you are going to get the limited 3-year warranty card and the hangers to hang the light as well. Now, in my case, the ballasts were shipped unattached to the housing. They may be shipped to you different, but if they are shipped unattached, they are right here on the back. They're very simple to attach. You don't even need any tools. It's just 2 thumb screws that hold on each one. Very simple to attach, and then you're done. There are 2 ballasts here actually because there's 2 quantum boards, so that may be a good thing for you. Maybe you don't need to run both lights at the same time. If you want to save energy, if you only have one small plant you're growing, something like that, you can just turn one on and not the other, or you can dim them independently depending on whatever reason you might have to do that. So why do I like these quantum boards? Because they don't require any passive heat sinks. You can consider the housing kind of a heat sink, but it weighs basically nothing. And with some of the lights you have that are smaller and put out a more intense amount of light, they require a heavier heat sink along with the ballast, depending if it's attached or not. But having that additional heat sink, whether it's passive or fan cooled, adds weight to the light. With these new quantum boards and the more efficient LEDs, it manages the heat better because the energy is more spread out over a larger area and you don't need that additional weight. It runs very, very cool. This light runs between in the high 90s to the low 100s degrees Fahrenheit. So basically just a little warmer than your skin. And the ballasts are probably the hottest thing that actually runs on these lights. But because the ballasts are actually not attached directly to the housing, it cools them independently. So they're not actually on the housing, there's actually just a little bit of a gap and they're on standoffs, and these here will cool independently of the light boards, so it won't add to the heat of the light boards, and it makes it more efficient that way. Now at max output, the optimal distance you're going to want to hang this light above the plant canopy is going to be between 18 and 24 inches. That's just based on the center par measurements. However, because it's dimmable, if that sounds like it's too far away from your plants, if it's going to restrict your vertical growing space, that's where the dimming function comes in. So if it becomes a problem, your vertical growing space, you can dim them down, which is another great feature about the light. I can't stress that enough, how nice it is to actually have a dimmable feature on a grow light. Now these boards do consist of a variation of different LEDs, mainly white diodes, but it does contain a few red diodes which range between 660 and 665 nanometers. The white LEDs range between 3200 and 4200 Kelvin, and the cool white ones range between 5200 and 6800 Kelvin. So a very nice overlap of spectrum on these boards. Now these boards do contain Epistar chips, and some people may not like those and they say they're not efficient. But the Epistar chips, these are the newer ones, and they are very efficient. The efficiency output from this light is actually 2.1 to 2.3 micromoles per watt, which is a very efficient light. So power efficiency, or micromole per joule or micromole per watt. Some people get this confused with the light's ability to grow plants, and that's not really the case. When you're talking about micromole per watt, that's more like the gas mileage of the light. So it just means it's more efficient, and it really, at its core, it really just means that it's putting out more energy in light rather than heat. So if you have like a low efficiency LED light, it just means that you're going to be having to hang that light closer to the top of the plants versus a light like this where it doesn't have to be as close and the plants can receive the same amount of light energy. That's all it really is. Having said that though, everybody wants to save money. So, you can take a light like this and not use all 308 watts worth of it, and you can dim it down, put it closer to the plant tops, and get a lot more light to them with less watts consumed. Also, some people kind of wonder what is the purpose of the blurple or purple grow lights, where they're only using mainly red and blue LED lights. Well, that's because plants mainly use red and blue light. That's the 2 peaks in the spectrum that they need most of. That doesn't mean that they don't use other parts of the spectrum. They absolutely do, but plants can easily grow using only red and blue light. However, this is based on an old technology. And before we actually had white LEDs, there were only the red and blue lights. And the whole concept of that was actually developed to start making grow lights. I believe it was actually for NASA and how they can use the least amount of energy and to try to do their experiments on the space station. I might be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure I've heard that. Stepping ahead quite a bit into the future now, why did we go from blurple lights, purple lights, to seeing more white LED grow lights, and then now this where they're having like a mixed spectrum white light, where you're having warm and cool white diodes? Well, through a lot of experiment and testing from many grow light companies and my own testing, that combination of light is to get a much better coverage over the spectrum that you could not get with one color temperature white LED light. So basically, if you look at a graph, when you're looking at red and blue lights, you'll see two big spikes in the red and the blue part of the spectrum. And with a white light, depending on its Kelvin, if it's cool white, you're going to see a larger spike in the blue part of the spectrum than the red part of the spectrum. And it's the opposite with the warm color white LED lights, where you have a larger peak in the red part of the spectrum versus the blue. So if you mix those two color temperatures together, you get a nice overlap between those, and you get a much broader spectrum that plants seem to respond to very well. So I will be testing this light and comparing it to other grow lights in the future, but for now I have other experiments going on. So if you're interested in seeing experiments using this light, make sure you subscribe and click the bell icon so you'll be notified. I really love that Mars Hydro and other grow light companies have kind of gotten away from this whole purple blurple grow light technology, because it really is an old tech. They do work, but it's so much better just to use white light because there's really no questioning it. They just work. So if you're interested in this light or other products similar to this on the Mars Hydro website, there will be links in the description below. So that's it for this video. Thanks for watching.